What if I told you that one idea, just one, has shaped revolutions, collapsed entire economies, and inspired millions to believe in a fair world, while also creating some of the most restrictive systems in modern history? That idea is socialism. But in 2026, socialism isn't just about red flags and street protests. It's moving into the code of your bank account. Why does it seem to work in some places and fail in others? And more importantly, is the modern push for equality actually a cover for the most sophisticated surveillance state in human history? The truth isn't simple. It's layered, psychological, and deeply tied to the ultimate prize: total control. To understand the new socialism, we must look at the man who gave it a scientific backbone, Karl Marx. Marx wasn't just an economist, he was a philosopher of conflict. He observed the peak of the Industrial Revolution, where child labor was the fuel for the engine of progress. Marx's core thought was historical materialism. He believed that human history is nothing more than a series of class struggles over the means of production. To Marx, the surplus value, the profit a company makes, was essentially stolen from the worker. Marx didn't just want better wages, he wanted the end of private property as a concept. Why? Because property is power, and Marx believed that as long as individuals owned things, the state could never be equal. Marx predicted that capitalism would inevitably overproduce itself into a collapse, leading to a proletariat revolution. In his vision, socialism was the transitional phase where the state would seize the means of production to redistribute wealth. But here is the conspiratorial twist. Was Marx a champion of the poor, or was his theory a perfect blueprint for a new kind of elite to seize power by promising fairness while practicing tyranny? In 1917, the USSR took Marx's theories and turned them into a bureaucratic nightmare. Under Lenin and Stalin, they implemented Gosplan, the State Planning Committee. Imagine a small group of bureaucrats in Moscow trying to calculate the exact number of shoes, nails, and loaves of bread needed for 290 million people across 11 time zones. This is central planning. The USSR eliminated market prices, the signals of the economy. In a normal economy, if bread is scarce, the price goes up, telling farmers to grow more wheat. In the USSR, prices were fixed by decree. What happens when the price of bread is so low that it's cheaper to feed bread to pigs than to buy grain? You get a total collapse of the supply chain. By the 1930s, agricultural collectivization led to the Holodomor, a man-made famine in Ukraine where millions died while the state exported grain to fund industrialization. This is the dark side of the greater good. If the state owns your food, they own your life. Is this why modern elites are obsessed with sustainable food systems and the elimination of small farms? China is the greatest economic anomaly of our time. After the disaster of Mao's Great Leap Forward, Deng Xiaoping realized that it doesn't matter if a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. China transitioned to socialism with Chinese characteristics. They created special economic zones like Shenzhen, which operated under hyper-capitalist rules to generate the wealth needed to sustain the Communist Party. But here is the 2026 reality. China has used this wealth to build the social credit system. By merging the socialist goal of social harmony with big data, the Chinese state can now track every purchase, every social media post, and every movement of its citizens. If your score is too low because you bought too much alcohol or criticized a policy, you are blocked from buying train tickets or getting a loan. Is China's model of market socialism actually the blueprint for the global Great Reset? A world where you have a market, but your participation in it is a privilege granted by the state based on your compliance. We are entering the deep end. In a moment, I'm going to reveal the kill switch hidden in the new digital currencies and how the G7 nations are quietly adopting the Soviet playbook. Before we go there, hit the like button if you want to stay sovereign in a digital world. Subscribe to bypass the filters of the algorithm. Share this with one person who still thinks their bank account is private. Let's dive into the void. Now, let's talk about the money in your pocket, or rather the money disappearing from it. Central banks around the world are currently piloting CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. To the public, they are sold as a socialist miracle. Instant stimulus checks, no bank fees, and financial inclusion for the poor. But be careful, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to understand the deep technical mechanics and the hidden agenda behind these digital currencies, you need to watch my dedicated video on CBDCs right here on the channel. I've already done a full breakdown of how they plan to replace your cash with a programmable leash. Under the new ISO 20022 global standard, every transaction can carry rich data. This means the central bank won't just see that you spent $50. They will see what you bought, where, and why. What if your money had an expiration date to force you to spend it and stimulate the economy? Or what if it was programmed so it couldn't buy meat if you've already hit your carbon quota for the month? This is programmed socialism. It isn't about owning the factories anymore. It's about owning the rails on which value moves. If you control the currency, you don't need to nationalize the companies. You simply turn off the customers of any company that doesn't follow the state's narrative. We are told that Scandinavia is the success story of socialism, but nations like Sweden and Norway are actually hyper-capitalist economies with massive tax-funded safety nets. They rank higher in business freedom than the United States. So why is the term socialism being pushed so hard in the West right now? Look at the data. In the last decade, we've seen a wealth decoupling. While the middle class is pushed toward universal basic income and rental-only living, the "you will own nothing and be happy" narrative, the global elite are moving their wealth into hard assets: physical farmland, private gold vaults, and water rights. This is the neo-socialist trap. The masses are promised equality through state dependence, while the architects of the system decouple themselves from the very digital cage they are building for us. The algorithm brought you to the end of this journey for a reason. You are now seeing the invisible ink on the digital dollar. Socialism, in its purest intent, was a cry for justice in an era of exploitation. But in the hands of the Silicon sovereign, it has become the ultimate tool for systemic silence. Whether it's the failed central planning of the URSS, the hybrid surveillance of China, or the carbon quotas being debated in the EU, the theme is the same: the trade-off of freedom for stability. The real question isn't whether socialism is good or bad. The question is, who holds the kill switch? If you believe that money should be an object of freedom rather than a tool for observation, comment "sovereign" below. We are tracking the 2027 rollout schedules of these systems in real time. Will you own your future, or will the future own you? The choice is yours, for now.